I'm as free as a bird now. And this bird, it cannot change. I don't know the words. I'm not a real Skinner fan. I just like two of their songs. Anyway, my apologies. I'm a little under the weather, so forgive me if there's a lack of energy. And again, welcome to the apocalypse. You have unwisely chosen it. Congratulations. And since you have unwisely chosen the apocalypse, you are in urgent need of a guide. And unfortunately for me, I am that guide. Because I have the burden of full understanding. So now I must share it with you. Since you are looking at all these things and wondering, what the hell is going on? Well, that's exactly what's going on. Hell. Literally. That is why you need your guide. I am your humble guide, Nicholas. So good to see you again. So let's start off early today. The stock market opened with, I believe it was a 1,400 or 1,500 point loss. Then some liar started a rumor that the tariffs were going to be rolled back. So the market jumped up a ridiculous amount for what's going on. I assume people made millions on that fake rumor that was spread that the tariffs were going to be paused for 90 days. So eventually it was found out that that was just a rumor and it had no substantiation anywhere. And then Donnie confirmed it later on. Yeah, these tariffs ain't going anywhere. So it's all here to stay. We're on the decline now. They're not going to fix it. Just like on January 6th, they didn't call in the National Guard because they wanted it to succeed, the people in charge. Same thing here. And we're going to see the whole plan that's already been instituted in another country that they're basing the plan here on. So it seems El Salvador, for example, is in the club of the people that want to turn our world into El Salvador. You'll see what El Salvador's like in a little bit. So the market ended up being down, I believe, about 350 points, and I'm talking about the Dow Jones specifically. Crude oil futures. Oil is like at $60 a barrel, and it's probably going to go lower. What always happens when there's a recession, a lot of people lose their jobs, people start holding their money, they start cashing out their investments, and they drive less. And when people don't have a job, they got nowhere to drive to, right? That's the great side effect of your demonic plan, the people that are making this happen. Oil goes way down. So the mob makes way less money. That's not a good thing for them. And it's going to get worse. Less and less people will be driving because more and more people will lose their jobs. And that's the point. Eugenics is the point. Misery, chaos, division, war, and worship. That's the point. So oil at $60 a barrel. I ain't really seen much change in the pump, though. You greedy fucks. Here's Donnie. So expect the stock market to go down tomorrow like 5,000 points. Okay, you ready for that? You ready for your 401k? Now it's probably at about 3/4 of the value it was at before. After tomorrow, it'll probably be 50% or 40% of what you had before. Just because of this. Yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs. That's a lie. Non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs and above those initially set. So he's basically saying if China doesn't get rid of this extra tariff by April 8th, which I believe is today, the United States will impose tariffs on China of 50% on top of the other tariffs, I assume. So a lot of you out there have China as a trading partner. And Donnie did this to you last time during his first term. So you should have saw it coming. I mean, really saw it coming. And Donnie talked about how much he loves tariffs again before he got reelected. So I guess a lot of you tomorrow are going to lose a very valuable trading partner because they're already tariffed at a ridiculously high level. Now Donnie's going to add 50%. So many of you businesses, farmers, etc., have China as a trading partner. What is this going to do to you? What is this going to do to your 401ks? Bad news, man. The fences are back up. That means something horrible is about to happen, and it's probably not the market crash. Well, the market crash, I'm sure, has something to do with the fences being back up at the White House, if they are indeed back up. I haven't confirmed this picture. A few people posted this picture today. But it wouldn't surprise me if the fences were back up. Nothing makes a motherfucker madder than losing half their 401k in 2 days. And we're going to get to this guy that I'm going to use as the canary in the coal mine. We'll get to him in a minute, though. I don't know much about him. I don't really want to know. I just want to know how much money he's losing, because that's all he talks about. But we'll get there. So yeah, the fences could be up for many reasons. Maybe the martial law thing's happening soon. Who knows? I'm thinking around April 20th. Because they're that kind of scumbag. They're that kind of Hitler. They are that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did it on Hitler's birthday or right before the midterms. I expect a huge crackdown, arrests, all kinds of Nazi-type stuff. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. You mean like you, Donnie? No one's weaker than you. No one's stupider than you. Don't be a panikin, a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. No, what Donnie's saying, if you'd like me to translate, I'm making billions off of fucking you over. Fucking all our allies over, fucking our trading partners over. I'm making billions in tribute, etc. This is the dream of my life, this grift I have going for me and Satan. So just let me have it as you lose half your 401k or all of it or whatever horrible happens to you. Just go with the flow as I'm making billions and you're losing everything. Don't panic. Don't start changing course because all of your sponsors, also known as donors, start calling up and saying, hey, I just lost $3 billion in the market because of your orange fuckface. So you've got senators and congressmen getting those type of phone calls from very rich people saying, this guy's a fucking disgrace. I'm losing billions. He better change his tune, his stripes, his spots real fucking quick. Or he's going to have a lot of new enemies, very powerful ones. And Donnie knows that. I could tell he was shook in the Oval Office today. And it's not just because there's public backlash. It's because all kind of phone calls are coming in to all kind of people around him. Phone calls from people you don't want to fuck with that have enough money, to buy cities. And they losing a lot. Because of Donnie's grift. That makes you a lot of very powerful enemies that have a lot of resources at their disposal. Donnie has to walk that tightrope as he's grifting for himself, Leon, Putin, and Satan. That's the kind of shit you got to worry about in positions of power. Other powerful people, maybe more powerful than you, knocking on your door, letting you know they don't like what you're doing. And they might not let you keep doing it. So that's why Donnie was shook in the Oval Office today. Very somber, very kind of lower tone. He knows the pitchforks are damn near out. By rich people, not poor people. Trump said every one of the 5 million protesters were paid 1 million each by Soros. That's $5 trillion. The lies are easier when your supporters do meth instead of math. Indeed. Indeed. As I said, the rubes, nothing gets by you as dude you voted for. Ruins your future, your country, your 401k, and then golfs on your dime at his own clubs. Like I said, no one pulls anything over on you guys. So do math instead of meth. Maybe you'll make wiser choices in life. Too late now, we're in the apocalypse. You already gave your country away, but maybe there's some other wiser choices you can make, because Donnie ain't going nowhere, neither's Leon, neither's Putin. They ain't going nowhere. Trump asked Supreme Court to block order requiring U.S. to bring back man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Once again, when you see the Trump administration going to the Supreme Court to keep a man they admitted they sent by mistake down there, that tells you the deal is for life. When Donnie gives El Salvador, the demonic realm that is El Salvador, these people, the deal appears to be for life, because, man, they're fighting tooth and nail not to bring this guy back. I heard he may be dead as well. Wouldn't surprise me. What do you think they send you down there for, son? What do you think they put you into concentration camps during Nazi Germany for? To live? No, to work for a month till you starve to death. That's why they put you in the camp. That's the only use you were to those people. That's the only use you are to this scumbag El Salvadoran dictator, which we'll learn more about soon. Just to crack the code for everyone, there is no evidence whatsoever that the Trump administration can bring this man back, but it also cannot admit that it cannot bring him back, because if it admits that, it will be conceding that it sold this man to El Salvador permanently. Indeed, I agree with this man, even though the full amount of evidence isn't there right now. Like he said, and like I just said, they are fighting tooth and nail to keep this motherfucker down there, even after they admitted he shouldn't be down there. So there's something else behind the scenes going on. For instance, maybe the money's to keep these people there forever. Again, this is the beast, son. You didn't know? Here's Fox News, the usual morning crew. You have to just let him do what he's going to do. Give him some time, because he's a businessman. No, he's not. He was born filthy rich. He inherited, his daddy gave him a small loan of $1 million and plus a salary from age 8. So Donnie's even lying about how much money he had to start off with. He inherited $400 million. He basically ran like money laundering type operations. It doesn't appear he's ever run a legitimate business that made a profit. All of his casinos went utterly bankrupt multiple times. Now they're out of business. The ones in Atlantic City. So some other activity, it appears, was going on with these businesses. He doesn't appear to be a good businessman, despite you watching him pretend to be one on TV. He's a billionaire. Okay, so if someone's a billionaire, that means they're wise, smart, someone you should follow, someone you should respect, etc. No. Maybe they got their money by money laundering and sex trafficking. Maybe they got their money by robbing people. Maybe they got their money by stiffing contractors over and over again, taking them to court, making them spend millions on lawyers till they go away. Maybe that's it. He knows what he's doing. No, he doesn't. He's a maniacal beast, out of fucking control, trying to grift every dollar that is not fucking nailed down, and then trying to extort all of us for more. Pyongyang State TV has some serious competition indeed. Indeed, with Fox News. Fox has a good portion of the blame for where we're at right now. You rubes watch that shit every day. You've been watching it for decades. Naught but lies. Every second of it. Every fucking second. What a waste of your time. If only you would have valued your time more. Maybe you'd still have a country, a future. Maybe we would as well. Maybe we wouldn't have to suffer you. Trump, we have a couple senators here. I just don't particularly like them, so I won't introduce Donnie. While the market is 4,000 points in the shitter, people have lost billions. New tariffs, everyone's worried. Donnie spent the last 4 days on the golf course hiding from the press, giving closet plane interviews, so he could just slam the door in their face. So today, his first day back on the job after 4 days of golfing on your dime at his own club so he can pocket the money, he decides he's going to go to a Dodgers event or game. Or excuse me, the Dodgers visit the White House. Excuse me. So there were some senators sitting there. Adam Schiff, I believe, was one of them. And Donnie's not fit to shine Adam Schiff's fucking shoes, by the way. Not in any respect. Strength, intelligence, goodness, decency, honesty. Just in no area is Donnie even remotely comparable to someone like Adam Schiff. So Donnie literally embarrassed the two senators that were sitting there. Instead of acting like a normal president, just said, hey, we've got Senator Schiff and blah, blah. Even if you hate them, even if the Rubes hate them, hey, we've got the senators here. Just want to say hi. Simple. Just be cordial. You don't have to be an antichrist cunt all the time. Donnie, you really don't. I know you can't help yourself. What I've always said about Leon and Donnie, now that I know Leon, I didn't know him for years. I just knew the mystique of Elon Musk, or Leon Scum, excuse me. What do I say? They don't even know how to pretend to be human. I've seen many sociopaths like this over the years. They don't, when they're around a group of people, they have to struggle to appear to act human, and they don't know how to do it, and they're doing an act always because they're a sociopath. They're not like you and me. So they just don't know how to be human, and Donnie's a perfect example of that. And this event where the Dodgers are there and the two senators, he can't even be cordial. He doesn't even have to mention them, honestly. No, he made a point to mention them so he could embarrass them. That's why he did that. And again, Donnie shitbags leaving his house in orange face every day and with a diaper full of shit isn't fit to shine Adam Schiff's shoes. In other words, Adam wouldn't even have to tell Donnie to go get his shine box because Donnie's not good enough to shine Adam Schiff's shoes. Not even close. Anyway. Oh, this is Leon's transgender child. And here's what they have to say about their own father, because their father has no problem talking abject shit on them and saying they're dead and all kinds of horrible things in front of his, 300 million bot followers and the whole world. So we can give the child a voice, can't we? The protesters are being paid. That's a quote. A, no, obviously. B, conservative voters in Wisconsin were being paid with the chance for $1 million and then still lost by a lot. What's your excuse? And when I read this, I thought, that's a damn good point. And it's something I forgot because everyone's so busy doing that evil. The whole cabinet, Leon, Donnie, throwing so much at us at once on purpose. The chaos is the point. The amount is the point. The wearing you down is the point. I forgot that Leon actually bribed people to vote a certain way and gave out checks and broke the law twice in 2 posts that he put up. And he had to change the wording and he had to change a video because they literally abject broke the fucking law. So Leon bribing people outright to vote his way on a judge's race is saying that the 5 million people or however many people were out this past weekend during the protests, they're the ones being paid by some, unnamed oligarch. No, Leon, you are what you are the finger you are pointing. And all you rubes pointing your finger at Soros, you pointing at the wrong guy. Because the only fucking douchebag I see that's omnipresent and has his grubby, pasty ass, worthless hands and everything is Leon fucking Scum. The sociopath whose own child fucking despises him and breaks it down in a very astute way. Yeah, Leon's the Nazi salute guy. Leon's the guy that gets on TV and calls people parasites and scammers and frauds if they want their Social Security check that they paid into their whole fucking life. So some fat, worthless, greedy South African fucking Nazi scumbag can come steal it from him, and his band of cunts straight out of high school, all college dropouts, accessing all your info, our money, every fucking thing. So yes, that's Leon, and Leon's also the guy that literally flat out bribed people to vote. Sorry about that, I lost connection. Again, flat out bribing people in Wisconsin to vote a certain way. And he's trying to paint this narrative that everyone's funding the Tesla violence and that these evil oligarchs are funding the protests that were all across the country and the world this past weekend. No, again, Leon's the finger he's pointing, and you rubes are the finger you've been pointing for fucking decades. Again, Leon Scum is everything you guys wish Soros was. Everything. And you gave him your country. All he had to do was buy Donnie. He didn't have to buy America. You gave it to him. I'm agreeing with Rand Paul. That's starting to scare me. I don't agree with Rand Paul, ever. He's, been taking that Russian money for a long fucking time. But he's starting to see something that worries him. And I agreed pretty much with everything Rand said in this little rant, except for his support for Donald Trump, of course. Rand Paul calls out Trump on the Senate floor, revealing his authoritarian regime and illegal governance. With a corrupt GOP Supreme Court and colluding House Republicans, they are stealing your tax money while creating divisions among us. Soaring tariffs are driving up expenses, neglecting veterans, healthcare, education, and Social Security. If we do not take action immediately, fascism will take away our freedoms. What Rand basically said, first he prefaced it by, I support Donald Trump because, you don't want to get too uppity with dear leader. So he started off with that. And then he went into the fact that these tariffs are fucking horrible. So the people that own Rand are calling him up saying, we about to take action on some people if they don't end this bullshit, or we're going to withhold our money or whatever. We mad as fuck. So Rand was explaining the horrors of tariffs and how terrible of an idea it is in the nicest possible way. But then he repeated something twice throughout his speech. He felt the need to go back to it. He said, I don't want to live under emergency rule. Because Donnie declared a martial law style emergency over the economy, and he's probably about to declare one over immigration. Both false narratives, completely. Because what they really want is open borders, and I'll explain that to you later. That's the real plan. And it's been the plan since George Bush Sr. But back to this. Rand said in two different parts of the speech, I don't want to live under emergency rule. What is Rand really saying? I don't want to live under a dictatorship. I don't like where this is going. And it's obvious what Donnie's doing here. I want to live in a constitutional republic, blah, blah, blah. That's what Rand said twice. So Rand sees something real bad brewing, or he wouldn't have said that. Because that's pretty critical of dear leader. Rand's getting a little uppity here. And you don't do that in the cult, in the MAGA world. That's real dangerous for you. They start calling you a rhino and shit if you start siding with the Constitution and stuff. Because none of them believe a damn word of it. They love their guns, though. So again, Rand said twice, I don't want to live under emergency rule. And you and I are living under that right now, son. But I know as long as the emergency rule has an R next to it, as long as the king has an R next to his name, we're perfectly fine with living under dictatorship, because anything's better than having a liberal president. Well, here's a news flash for you, morons. If you would have voted for the black lady, if you would have voted for the liberal, you'd still have your job, your pension, all of your 401k. In fact, it'd be up. Your life would be going great right now. We wouldn't be having trade wars. All of our allies wouldn't fucking hate our guts. All our trading partners and military allies. We wouldn't be aligned with Vlad Putin utterly, totally, and completely, and it's fucking obvious. And your children's future would still be manifest. Over now. Your country would still be alive and well. And on good footing. With a very successful economy. Joe Biden left with the most successful economy in history. Dow higher than ever. But you didn't like that. You kept spouting the talking points. Because you're too stupid to even know if they're true or not. And you wouldn't care if they were true or not anyway. All you care about is your team winning. That mentality cost you your country, son, your children's future, all of our futures, and this entire country's future is over. I'm going to explain later what your world's going to look like soon. Okay? Trump asked Supreme Court to block order to return wrongly deported man. Yes, the Supreme Court, we must keep that person in the death camp in El Salvador, even though we admitted he's not supposed to be there and we fucked up. That's evil, son, and your name's on it. I hope you take your name off it for your sake. Does nothing for me. Trump refuses to introduce Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla at the White House because he doesn't like them. Yes, that's again when the Dodgers were there. I just read this to you. I took this screenshot. I wanted to give you the names of who was there, who Donnie was insulting, who the Antichrist was insulting. The Antichrist that you have your name on. The literal Antichrist. I'm not joking. No, he's not just an Antichrist. You hear that phrase all the time. No, he's the Antichrist. Don't worry, you'll learn that in the hardest of fucking ways. In an unprecedented moment, Fox News' Maria Bartiromo is no longer able to deny reality, finally admitting to viewers that Trump's tariff policies will lead to an American recession. This is huge. And yes, Bartiromo, I can tell, has lost a lot of money in the market and knows a lot of people losing money in the market. She's kind of manic at the moment. And I could tell she was really trying to choose her words carefully because, again, in the MAGA cult world, you really have to be careful critiquing dear leader, again, because the whole cult will turn on you in 5 seconds and call you a rhino and all this bullshit. So Bartiromo basically said, yeah, the tariffs will lead to a recession, most likely, or lead to higher prices. And I could tell she was really not happy. Ducey's son, who's been going to the White House, I could tell since Donnie started the tariff talk, Ducey's lost all kind of money. And it really makes him mad. And he's talking shit to Donnie in some of these press conferences. Maybe that's why we haven't seen Ducey lately. I don't know. Maybe he got a talking to for getting a little uppity. U.S. sent 238 migrants to Salvadoran mega prison, or death camp, as I call it. Documents indicate most have no apparent criminal records. Most have no apparent criminal records. Yet they in a death camp in El Salvador, and we were told the label put on these people was the worst of the worst. And we heard that, a complete and total vagary, no details. We had no idea who was going to the death camp, and we just all went about our day. Now that records are looked at, most of them haven't even committed crimes. 60 Minutes could not find criminal records for 75% of the 238 men the Trump admin sent to a Salvadoran prison. Of the 22% that had records, the vast majority are for non-violent offenses. Trump admins still insist they're terrorists, moral bankruptcy, or evil. Paying a dictator $6 million to house people indefinitely because, again, they sent one person there by mistake, admittedly, and they're going to the Supreme Court to keep that person there. So yes, it's evil, and your name is on it. I suggest you take your name off of it before the man comes around. Because once the man comes around, it's going to be too late. Here's Donnie golfing while the four the soldiers that died in Lithuania were brought home. Donnie couldn't be bothered with that. He was too busy with the Saudis and golfing on your dime at his own club. Audi is suspending deliveries to the U.S. due to Trump's tariffs. Cars imported into the country after April 2nd will be held at customs and temporarily won't be sold through dealerships. Audi currently has around 37,000 vehicles in stock in the U.S. that are not subject to tariffs. These will be sold. Earlier, British automaker Jaguar Land Rover also announced a suspension of deliveries to the U.S. Well, I notice how you Americans, you love your Audis and BMWs. You see that as a status symbol. Having an American-made or pseudo-American-made car, you look down on that. So it looks like your Audis aren't going to be in stock for a while, so you better get these 37,000 while you can. And then you got Jaguar Land Rover as well. Again, all status symbol cars that you people love so much. Guess they're not going to be available as much. The Trump administration has issued an order pulling protections on half of the land managed by the U.S. Forest Service in an effort to boost timber production. Yes, when you put tariffs on our main lumber supplier, Canada, who has a lot more trees and open space with no people on it than we do, you have to replace that somehow, right? So let's chop down our national parks and forests. Who needs fucking trees? We don't need no stinking trees, right, guys? Great news. White House says Trump Netanyahu press conference has been canceled. Yes, I noticed the press conference was canceled, and I assume Donnie just still wanted to hide from the press because of the absolute chaos in the market that he was totally and utterly responsible for. But then they did kind of have a little press conference inside the White House. And a few questions were answered. Surprisingly, the reporters were allowed to ask some questions about the economy and what was going to happen and tariffs. And we'll get to those. So Donnie finally faced the music, but I could tell he shook because, again, he's walking a fine line. You've got a lot of very powerful, rich people furious at this guy right now. The only one that's really made money of the oligarchs that are public is Warren Buffett. Why? Because Warren took Donnie at his word, and what Warren saw Donnie do in his first term. And the second Donnie got elected, the second America was over, Mr. Buffett decided to move his money into other things and get the fuck out the market to where Donnie could bankrupt him. Like he's doing to all of you right now. I'm not really one to applaud oligarchs, but that oligarch's actually smart. Because again, all you people with money in the market, big money, 50,000, 100, a couple million, you didn't see the tariffs the first time? You didn't see Donnie utterly wreck the economy the first time? You didn't hear him talk about tariffs? You didn't hear Leon and Donnie talk about firing people before the election? You all just ignored all that, right? Well, Mr. Buffett did not ignore that. And he took Donnie's action and his words, and he acted on it. That's why he didn't lose money. So that's a smart oligarch. That's an oligarch who knows a beast when he sees one. Who knows a bull in a china shop when he sees one? Who knows a grifter when he sees one? And he knew Donnie was going to manipulate the market about 17 times in the span of 2.5 months. So he took his money out. Smart man. The EU Commission has proposed 25% counter tariffs on a range of U.S. imports to take effect May. Okay, so no Audis, no BMWs. Now we got a 25% counter tariff On imports, Donnie going to announce some more tariffs on China tomorrow. Again, I expect the market to go down like 5,000 tomorrow, but I'm not a stock guy, so I could be completely wrong. Are we headed for a recession? This is BlackRock CEO. Most CEOs I've talked to say we are probably in a recession right now. That's BlackRock CEO saying that. Not Nikki, not me. In a recession right now. 2.5 months in, Donnie made all of our allies hate us, got us in a trade war, and we got CEOs saying, yeah, we're already in a recession. Wow, that's some real work. That's some real evil. Doing that evil. Eager little beavers to do that evil. That's Donnie and his crew. To where he's got BlackRock CEO sitting there, yeah, we're already in recession. I lost like $6 billion, man. These are people that allegedly regret their votes. And they all left a short little comment. Someone gathered all these. Someone named Rio. Myself and others are now sorry we voted for you. You are killing people's retirement accounts. Again, I don't really hear the sincerity. I hear, I lost money. Rally around me now. Feel sorry for me, even though I voted for this. Recall the tariffs. You cost me over $3,200 in my retirement accounts Friday, and I voted for you 3 times. You're killing us. Again, only when it comes to their doorstep, that's when you're going to hear him cry. Never when he's hurting other people that they were all down for until they lost some of their 401k money. Then it's a problem. In other words, I agree with your policies, but not like this. Not where they hurt me too. Again, we've already lived this for 4 years. How many of you got utterly fucked over by your orange messiah? And then you vote for it again. 3 times. And this person now lost 3,200 so far. They're going to lose more, don't worry. All of you will. That's the point. Dude, I voted for you, but are destroying my retirement account. Pump the brakes. Again, only when it comes to their doorstep. My retirement account. I voted for you. Stock market is in free fall again today. My retirement saving is crushed because of your policies. Golden age my butt. Again, my retirement account. You see the trend here? You see the pattern with you people? Do you see why you lost your country? Because this is your attitude. Only when it affects me do I care. That's why you lost your country, son. Sorry. I voted for you 3 times, Mr. President. However, you decimated middle-class retirement funds with this trade war. I cannot support you any longer. You have crushed my ability to retire. I agree that things need to be negotiated and better deals need to be made, but we are paying. Again, I agree with your policies, but now I've lost money. You were supposed to only hurt other people. I so want to hear the remorseful maggot, the remorseful cult member that really gets it, where their eyes are really opened. Oh shit, I've been supporting evil for like 40 years, and this is the maximum expression of the evil in me and the evil I've supported. Stock market going down, losing my retirement. I voted for you, and it was a big mistake. Again, my retirement. Thanks for fucking up everybody's retirement. Well, at least they mentioned some other people. Fucking up our life savings, for ruining a fun weekend with basketball, etc. Some of us don't have time to wait on a recovery, and I voted for you. Fix it. Stop the victory lap and fix it. Again, it's pretty much all about the one person, and that it came to their doorstep. That's really what they're saying. And again, you people voted for this. You should be happy, right? Your 401ks have now. You should be thrilled. You got to own the libs. That should be all the consolation you need. You don't need that stinking money. Isn't that what Benny Johnson, the plagiarist, said? Who cares about money? You don't need that. You need to own libs. That's more important. Always more important. I voted for you, but midterms are flying out the door. Your actions destroy our hopes, plans to retire anytime soon. For God's sakes, why decimate everything at one time? It will take years to recover our retirement accounts, but it took you 3 months to destroy them. Indeed, less than 3 months. Destroyed all our partnerships around the world. Trade war, market down. But again, we all tried to warn you. Me and so many other people. Begged you. Don't vote against your own interests. Don't end America for a con man who wants to be God. But you knew better. Look at your 401k and ask yourself if you knew better. I voted for you, but 30% loss of my retirement funds was not what you promised. Well, actually it was. He talked about the tariffs. You saw him do the tariff thing the first time, where farmers were killing themselves and losing their farms because they lost their trading partners. You saw all of that. You saw all of our warnings, and you did it anyway. Now you're 30% down. And guess what? Your shit's going to go down more. Because the plan is to crash it. I told you that, I don't know, like a day after Donnie got in. It occurred to me, well, they have to crash it. They got to get you on Donnie coin. Mr. President, I enthusiastically voted for you, but you are failing baby boomers with your constant flip-flopping on tariffs. Well, that's market manipulation, so Donnie and his buddies make millions, billions. Collectively today, those who are either retired or planning to will lose billions of dollars in their retirement accounts. Translation, I lost money. I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't have voted for Trump last November. You're starting to think that? These tariffs are starting to get ridiculous now that you are affecting my retirement. I hope for your sake things get better quick. Your sake? What's that mean? A little bit of a threat there? Again, you people think there's going to be midterms too. That's really cute. I like that. There's not going to be midterms. And if they are, the election system now will be so rigged in their favor. Again, this was done in El Salvador. I'm going to read you at the end. The plan for this country. It's already El Salvador. That's what America's going to look like. Mr. Trump, why are you destroying the American seniors' retirement accounts? This is not what we voted for. Actually, it is what you voted for. You voted for tariffs. You voted for Leon. You voted for sycophancy, unqualified, cross-eyed freaks. You voted for all of it. You liked it. It was good entertainment. It was like wrestling, right? Your country. It's a shame. I wish you people would have thought better of your own country and your own future and your children's future. Such a shame you just willy-nilly gave it to two grifters. I voted for you, but at 60 years old in my first year after retirement, your policy is killing me. Everything I've worked for just keeps dwindling away. So disappointing that you're banking everything for the future and are screwing me and my family. Yeah, Donnie's making billions right now. I mean, shit, the first day in office, or before even, you had Bezos and the whole fucking roster. Zuckerberg, Sundar, all the Gates, all the motherfuckers. Just laying money at Donnie's feet as if he were Caesar. The market is absolutely tanking. How could you do this to people who voted for you? I'm actually terrified to wake up tomorrow to see if I have any retirement left. How could you do this to the struggling middle class? Well, he did it last time. The market was in abject shambles when Donnie left. Do you remember that? Of course not. You're ignorant. Why would you remember that? I've worked all my life, put away a few bucks for retirement, less than you probably spend in a day, voted for you. Now you want to take that pittance I worked for my entire life to save. Yep. They do want to take that pittance. They do want to take your Social Security. They do want to get you desperate on Donnie Coin. Elon Musk's or Leon Scums, young Doge goons have made yet another tech blunder as they launched untested software, crashing the Social Security website. Let me not even go into Doge right now. Okay, this is the canary in the coal mine. This is the guy I'm going to use to really show what the market's doing. Dave Portnoy. I don't know shit about Dave Portnoy. I know he's MAGA. I know he voted for Donnie. Of course, anyone with this kind of money in the market probably voted for Donnie. Because, you know, once you get a certain amount of money in this world, all your principles go out the window. And all you're worried about is, I want to keep more of my obscene wealth. I don't have enough. Mr. Portnoy doesn't think he has enough either. And the first post yesterday I showed you with Mr. Portnoy was he lost $7 million almost immediately because of what Donnie's doing, literally. I looked at Mr. Portnoy's post again today, or his new post. Portnoy says, I haven't even looked, but if I had to guess, I probably lost 20 million in the last 3 days, 10 to 15% of my net worth. Poof. Us peasants down here, I want you to picture how mad a motherfucker would be if they had a couple 100 million or 100 million in the market and then they lost 20 in 2 days. Portnoy's all out of sorts, I could tell. And I could tell he's drinking. I could tell he's just miserable over this. Because a guy like Portnoy, his life is based on that money and what it does each day in the market. That's his entire life. That's all this guy talks about. Again, 20 million in 3 days. So we're going to use him as the canary in the coal mine to see really how bad this fucking thing gets. Started off with a $7 million loss. Now he's up to $20 million loss. And when the European news of their tariffs kick in, the EU, and Donnie's new tariffs on China tomorrow, I expect another huge drop in the market. But again, that's the point. And this is what Donnie's doing. Burning our country and your future and your money down while he has piles of gold. Like a dragon sitting on his hoard. Funny that his daddy is the dragon. Literally. Just burning piles of money. Actually, that's what this picture shows. When I first looked at it, I thought it was Donnie's pile of gold next to him. But again, you wouldn't believe the amount of money this cunt is taking in on a daily basis. He's selling the $5 million gold Trump card that gives you carte blanche right through the immigration process and lets you do whatever you want business-wise over here. All you got to do is give Donnie $5 million. Doesn't say America on it, it says Trump on it. Again, I told you, Donnie sees all the money that comes into the Treasury as his. He sees the presidency as an extortion racket, a protection racket. And anyone that does major business across the world that needs to use the canals, whatever, you are supposed to pay Donnie. Why? Because Donnie sees himself as Caesar, and he as God, and he sees himself as the king of the planet. Leon also sees himself as all those things. That's why they're Beast 1 and Beast 2. They're just like each other. Hence the Pepe Caesar up on Leon's wall. That tells you what Leon thinks he is. Donnie thinks he's that as well. And during the first term, just like this term, he saw it all as, I'm the king, I'm Caesar, all this federal money is mine. That's why he's canceling every department, every program. That money's his. Why the fuck should he give it to you? That's Donnie's existence. That's what you have your name on. Brennan, this is a reporter. Mr. Secretary, the campaign is over. You won, so I'm asking what the plan is. Lutnick or Nutlick. There is no postponing. They are definitely going to stay in place. He's talking about the tariffs. The other thing about Nutlick quickly, I want to say, he let something slip in one of the interviews because he got flustered. He said that work they do in Vietnam, putting little screws in iPhones, that's going to be done here in factories. Well, Donnie let slip today, and he realized he let it slip because you rubes, this is one thing you hate. Open borders. That's what Leon and Donnie want. And quickly, before I go into it later, the reason the certain elite peoples like George Bush Sr. all the way on up to this present day say that phrase, open borders, and they say it as if they want to do something good for mankind and it's about brotherhood and all this bullshit. No, it's about cheap labor. Just what they're doing now, bringing foreigners that work for a third of the price in every job you can think of. They want to make that normal standard practice. That's why the no borders from Canada all the way down to South America. They want no borders in the North American empire. Why? Why did Nutlick say, we're going to bring those Vietnamese-style factories over here, and you're going to be doing the work, the few people that get to work there, whatever's not automated? Because those workers that work in that Vietnam factory, there's going to be no borders anymore. They could bring workers from anywhere to man those factories with the power plant next to it. Donnie's all about power plants being right next to these facilities. I assume the third world workforce, because they don't want to pay American wages, they never have wanted to pay them, and they're just tired of it, man. And that's a statement on them, what scum they are. They shipped all the jobs overseas. They bring the H-1B visa people in. They bring the people from Mexico, Venezuela, etc. The businesses do that. If you want to blame someone for illegal immigration, blame the businesses that hire the people. If there was no employment opportunities for the people that illegally cross over, they wouldn't come here. There'd be no purpose or point to, right, children? Right. Don't blame the presidents. Don't blame the Congress. Blame the corporations and business owners and contractors and farmers that hire these people. And I don't blame anyone for trying to find a better life. If I lived in some third world shithole, I'd be trying to make a run for the border too. I don't fucking blame you. But if we really ever wanted to solve the problem, we would make it, the fines, we could make millions of dollars for any business that hires an illegal worker. Because it hurts America, unfortunately. So that's the plan. They want to standardize that. That's been the plan since at least George Bush Sr. That's what really the New World Order is. And the brotherhood with no borders. They don't give a fuck about brotherhood. In fact, they hate you. They'd love to execute you. Just so there'd be less people on the planet and they could steal more. So Nutlick let that slip that we're going to have the Vietnamese style factories here. Gave away the game a little bit. Donnie did the same thing today, mentioned open borders. He let it slip. That's because they want those factories here, not for the good of America. No, son, you American worker, you won't be working there. You wouldn't take that job anyway. No, they'll bring a foreign workforce in. That's why the borders will disappear. That's the whole purpose of eliminating borders. I know you thought the liberals were going to do it because Alex told you that. Guess what? You did it. And so did Alex. So did Donnie. So did the Republican Party, owned by Russia. You were the hand of Satan. You were the hand of the New World Order. And now it's here. It's already in El Salvador. Again, I'll break it down in a minute. So Nutlick gave the game away, Donnie gave the game away, and that is the game, bringing a foreign work, standardizing that. Well, there's no borders. We don't got to worry about illegal immigration. We'll just grab a bunch of Guatemalans or something from a third world country, and they'll be happy to work for, 1/3 or less than an American. And we'll house them at the factory, just like in China. They just want to turn us into China, where we got suicide nets on the side of factories, and you work 16, 17 hours a day, 20 hours a day, and you have to live there, and you're basically a prisoner. That's the New World Order. That's what they want to turn America into, and they will turn it into that if it comes to full fruition before the king comes back. This was Donnie welcoming Netanyahu today to the White House, and he was like 50 feet away from the reporters. He was still hiding. They were yelling questions about the economy to Donnie. He ignored it, and him and Bibi walked in. So he was still hiding up until that point today. Okay, now Netanyahu or Donnie are sitting in the White House and doing their mini press conference. Reporter, would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiations? Donnie says we're not looking at that. So the tariffs aren't going anywhere. Expect your 401k to drop more. Expect the Dow to drop more. Expect us to lose more trading partners. Expect you to pay more for goods and services. Reporter, there have been some mixed messages. You're talking about negotiations, and yet others in your administration are saying these tariffs are permanent. Donnie, well, they both can be true. There are things we need beyond tariffs. That's when Donnie went into the open borders. That's the thing beyond tariffs, he said. He let it slip. If the Rubes weren't totally ignorant, they would have heard that and be, oh, shit. We just elected the New World Order Antichrist. Open borders. That's some Marxist liberal evil shit. No, that's your shit, son. The Republican right-wing nationalist movement that you've been a part of for decades. You're in the maximum expression of that evil. And you made it happen. And Leon has talked about open borders in these little podcast shitty interviews he does. And so's Thale. And so's Donnie now. Right in the White House, he let the cat out of the fucking bag right in front of your propagandized Alex Jones eyes. We need open borders. And then Donnie realized he fucked up. And then Donnie moved to China. And he said, we almost had a deal with China. Blah, blah, fucking blah. Why? Because he needed to deflect away from that open border slip. And again, they don't want open borders because it's a kumbaya type thing, son. They want open borders so they can bring cheap labor and you starve. That's their wet fucking dream. Donnie said it out fucking loud. He didn't mean to, but he's a little worn out lately. He's been taking a lot of threats from some very powerful people because he's costing them billions for his little satanic grift Nazi regime he's got going. His little New World Order he's got going. Said it out his own mouth. Open borders. The EU has said they offered 0 for 0 tariffs on cars and industrial goods. Is that not enough? Donnie says, no, it's not. That sounds like a great deal to me. 0 for 0. That's fair. Not for Donnie. Donnie's on the grift. He wants these countries and territories and entities to come to him and grovel and lay some big money at his feet and give him a deal. That's what he wants. In other words, he's trying to extort the entire fucking planet. As he drains your 401k down to nothing. There are things that we need beyond tariffs. We need open borders. That's taboo. That's sacrilege in the movement, isn't it? In the cult, rubes, open borders. That's some evil Marxist Obama shit, right? Right, fools? No, that's some you shit, some Alex Jones shit, some Donnie shit, some Leon shit. All the way back to George Bush Sr. when he gave his New World Order speech. That's what he was talking about, what these guys are doing right now. Part of that New World Order thing that you fucking idiots all blamed on liberals and liberal ideology is open borders. Your name's on it, son. Right there. We need open borders. Came out the Antichrist's mouth. Again, he was a little tired, a little flustered. He's taken a lot of threats from very rich people. He's worried about himself as his Reich. Is he going to succeed? And he let it slip. Well, there's things we need more than tariffs, like open borders. Yeah, from the perspective of an elitist cunt who inherited 400 million, who never had to work a hard day in his life, because the only thing he cares about is him and his buddies getting the cheapest labor possible to work in the new mega factories that the Reich is going to build, that are going to be fully AI automated according to Nutlick. But the few people that get to work there, they'll be, from Vietnam, or they'll be from Guatemala, and you'll starve. We need open borders. Rubes, I thought you guys didn't like that. I thought that was evil, some George Soros shit. What happened? No, that's some Leon shit. That's some you shit. That's some Donnie shit. You're the hand of it, son. For the rest of my life, I will never understand how a country full of people busting their butts, working paycheck to paycheck, allow the richest guy on earth to call them parasites, while calling the Social Security we contributed to our entire lives a Ponzi scheme. It will never make sense indeed how any of you took this cunt seriously, as you sit there and listen to him call you parasites, because he wants to steal your Social Security money and you're not letting him. That means you're a parasite. In Leon's eyes, who's the greatest parasite I've ever seen, I've never seen someone take so much welfare. He just got another $6 billion contract for SpaceX. Without welfare, without your money, SpaceX would not be a thing. Tesla would not be a thing. Neither of them would be open. Your welfare is the only thing keeping it open. Not other people paying the company for good business and good products. No, you're the contract money over and over again. I don't want to give 6 billion contracts to Leon. He has enough money and he's ruined enough businesses and enough things. And $6 billion contracts to Leon does not save us money, you fucking hypocrite liars. As you spend more than Biden spent by this point in his presidency, as you charge us $8 million a week for the fucking group of socially awkward cunts that could never get a date, that dropped out of fucking, or just graduated high school, dropped out of college, that are all spitting images of the ultimate douchebag cunt, Leon Scum, the ultimate cringe cunt, Leon. They're all little young versions of him. That's who you gave your country to. The guy who wants to steal your Social Security money. The guy that gives high school kids access to your info. Netanyahu on Palestinians in Gaza. Gaza was the only place where they locked them in. We didn't lock them in. They're locked in. They're trying to say the terrorists or the people that run Gaza, run Palestine, don't want them people to leave, and they're kind of locking them in. Well, I don't know if that's true. What I do know is Donnie and Bibi want to build a resort. Israel wants a security zone in Gaza. Donnie wants a freedom zone in Gaza with American troops manning it. Son. And they want to build a resort and a temple. And they're letting Iran know, and the military buildup over in the Middle East. I talked about it yesterday. They're letting everyone know we're going to do what we want to do here in the Middle East and Israel, and you're not going to stop us. If you try, we got 7 stealth bombers that are going to make you realize you should have never tried. This stuff's going to happen. Chief Justice Roberts has indefinitely blocked the court order requiring Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return tonight. So the Supreme Court is totally cool with helping Donnie keep an innocent man down in a death camp in El Salvador. That's how bad Donnie wants to keep them there. He takes the case to the Supreme Court. That's how bad the Supreme Court wants to please Donnie. What if one of you justices ends up down in El Salvador? You think Hitler didn't do that kind of shit? Never thought about that, huh? Amy Coney Barrett thought of it. I can tell she's starting to rethink her whole thing. Maybe she got a tiny bit of Jesus in her. Tiny bit. I can tell she's starting to rethink some things. Donnie, you know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate. People are dying over there. There's a war. Donnie's talking about it in real estate deal terms. I told you he's the beast. I told you he's the Antichrist. That proves it right there. And I think it's something that we would be involved in. The Holy Land, the Middle East, the greatest fight that's been going on since the dawn of time on this planet. You want American troops involved in that, son? I guess you do. Having a peace force like the U.S. there controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. You call it the freedom zone. So they got it all worked out. This has been planned out for a long time. Obviously, all the details are there. He just broke the whole thing down, although he probably shouldn't have said it in those words. Gives the entire game away. Donnie can't help himself. Because if any American president ever said this prior to the Antichrist's reign, there would be riots in every Muslim country. It'd be panda-fucking-monium. And you know what? I wouldn't blame them. Because you have an American president here talking about, I'm going to have the U.S. military in the Gaza Strip in a freedom zone. And what does that really mean? Well, that means we have a temple and a resort to build. And we don't want any of you peasant Muslims bothering us while we build that. So we're going to put machine guns on the street, stealth bombers off your coast, and a whole bunch of other goodies. So if Iran fucks with it, once we start building a temple and a resort and clear out the Gazans, well, we just bomb them out of existence. If Palestine wants to fight, if any of the neighboring countries, Egypt, Yemen, whoever wants to fight, we'll just obliterate them. No one's going to fuck with this plan. I told you this was going to happen way back. That this is top priority. The annexation stuff, the control of the canals, the control of Gaza to build the resort and temple. I told you all of this was going to happen. Look where we're at now. Donnie's saying we're going to have U.S. troops, saying it right there in the Oval Office. It ain't me saying it. It used to be me saying it. Now they saying it. Having a peace force like the U.S. there controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. So we're going to own the Gaza Strip. We're going to control the Gaza Strip. We're going to clear out the Gazans. And we're going to call it a freedom zone. Not dystopian at all, right? Trump Gaza, gold statues of Donnie. You saw the commercial. That was a very detailed, expensive, well thought out and executed commercial, by the way. Had a lot of detail and nuance, characters, all kind of stuff. Gold statues of Donnie. And again, I didn't hear Netanyahu rebuke that. I didn't hear Donnie rebuke that. I didn't see Muslims out on the street protesting. Does that make sense? When one of the parts of the commercial was Netanyahu and Donnie lounging on the pool deck in Gaza together. Why are there not riots in the entire Muslim world? Especially after today. We're going to own it. We're going to control it with military action. We're going to clear out the Gazans. And we're going to call it a freedom zone as we build Trump Gaza, put up gold Donnie statues, build a temple. Not dystopian at all, right? Hegseth basically, when they gave him a minute to speak regarding Yemen and the Houthis, one of you asked, why are we bombing the Houthis? Again, Donnie wants to extort Egypt and Europe. Donnie wants to own the Suez and the waterway leading up to the Suez. Where does that begin? That begins at the Gulf of Aden. What's on both sides of the Gulf of Aden? Yemen's on one side, Somalia's on the other. We bombed Somalia in February. We just bombed Yemen left and right for the past few weeks. We still bombing them. And Hegseth basically said, we are going to continue to bomb them and we're going to escalate. To let everyone know, again, they're sending a clear message to that entire area. We are going to control the Suez. We are going to extort you for access. You will not stop us. We've put a huge military force, including bombers, all kinds of stuff, right on your doorstep. We dare you to fuck with us. Again, that's why they bombed Somalia, the one side of the Gulf of Aden, in February. Then they bombed Yemen, and they're still bombing. They're letting everyone know, we are going to bring our military through here. Business is going to come through here. You're going to let us do what we want to do in Israel and clear out the Gazans and build the resort and have a freedom zone. You're going to abandon the Sinai and let us throw the Gazans there or something. They're letting everyone know, you're not stopping this. They're sending a very clear message. Again, I told you all this was going to happen. Way in advance, once he won. So Hegseth basically said, yeah, we're going to keep bombing the Houthis till they stop attacking our ships. Donnie says, I think if the talks aren't successful with Iran, I think Iran is going to be in great danger. That's another agenda item. Israel and America have wanted Iran's ass for a long time. The problem is Iran has nukes. It's the only reason they haven't been invaded yet. That's how I know they have nukes. Otherwise, America would have invaded them for their oil or something by now. We haven't. Oh, I told you about the 3 children put in a van with like a pedophile yesterday that were taken from a school by ICE agents destined for the lake. Those 3 children have been released and their mother. Only because of the public backlash. If no one heard about it, they'd still be there, and everyone fucking knows it. Invade Greenland? Planning is right on schedule. Next will be a leak of the civil service and law enforcement plans to take over and administrate it. You know, just like they're talking about with Gaza, we're going to have a force there. Peacekeepers in a freedom zone. Closely followed by Hegseth's military invasion plans. Watch the status of the amphibious and expeditionary warfare ships at Naval Station Little Creek after they finish the latest exercises. You cannot annex without invasion. Indeed. Indeed. Donnie will use the military on all these people. And this is the other part of that. White House studying cost of Greenland takeover. That's from WAPO. White House officials have in recent weeks taken steps to determine the financial ramifications of Greenland becoming a U.S. territory, including the cost of providing government services for its 58,000 residents. The White House is preparing an estimate of what it would cost the federal government to control Greenland as a territory, according to 3 people with knowledge of the matter. The most concrete effort yet to turn President Donald Trump's desire to acquire the Danish island into actionable policy. Just like Gaza. Again, so many of you thought the Greenland talk and the tariff talk and all the shit Donnie was talking day one was all negotiating tactics or this or that, or he's just talking. No, it was all real. And these things are going to happen. Unfortunately. Fired Justice Department employee reveals that Trump officials tries to send armed officers to her home to intimidate her and her family. I will not be bullied into concealing the ongoing corruption and abuse of power. The woman did testify. Why was she fired? I'll give you the quick synopsis. She's a Department of Justice pardon lawyer that advises on pardoning and who deserves one, and she looks at different documents regarding pardons. That's been her career. Well, they asked her to give Mel Gibson's guns back. I guess he's not supposed to get them back because he's technically a criminal, I guess. She didn't want to do that. So they fired her. And they fired her by someone coming to her in her office, because I listened to her testimony. One of her assistants saying, there's security waiting in your office to escort you out of the building. You're terminated. She was stunned. She went to her office. They escorted her out with her few things. Terminated. Why? Because she did her job and she was honest. And she didn't just go along with the Reich, who wanted to give guns back to Mel fucking Gibson. That's the priority as you're losing your 401k. Getting Mel's guns back. So what did they do to her? She's had problems getting information she needs for unemployment, information she needs for her benefits, her and her family. Her benefits will quadruple if she wants to keep her children on the benefits package. You people all know how that works. When you lose your job, you can go on Cobra or something, right? Yeah, you foreigners don't know about that. When we lose our job-tied health care, because that's the point to make better slaves, started under Richard Nixon, the ultimate scumbag before Donnie came along. You get to do things like go on Cobra and pay ridiculous amounts for healthcare coverage per month. And if you want to put your family members on it as well, you're talking like over $1,000 a month easy. That's why in America they tie your healthcare to your job. It makes for a better slave. Only reason. And companies shouldn't have to worry about that expense, and neither should you. It should all be free. We're allegedly the greatest country, richest country in the world. Yeah, it's all bullshit. We were never exceptional. We were never great. We were never anything. Only good thing we've probably done is getting rid of Hitler. And we didn't do that on our own. So what did they do? They eventually learned that she was going to testify before Congress. The saga's been going on for about a month, I think. So what's the go-to tactic when Donnie and the Reich are in charge? Well, we got to intimidate, because Donnie's straight up mob. We got to intimidate this person. That's what they did to everybody in the first term. Anyone that was going to testify, they tried to intimidate them. You know, rumors would come out about their wife or this or that through Michael Cohen or whoever scumbag felt like tweeting some intimidating, threatening information. So right to the intimidation. So what did they do? They wanted to make sure she saw a letter basically threatening her not to speak. Long letter. They sent it to her via email, I believe, but that wasn't good enough. They figured one night we'll send some armed officers to her house. Well, she found out that was in progress and her teenage child was home. Probably would have been a bit traumatic, but that was the point by the Reich. to scare her, to intimidate her into not talking. So she discovered these armed officers were on the way to her house where she was not at yet. Only her child was there, and I'm sure that scared the shit out of her because God knows what some brown shirt officers for the Reich are going to do destined for the lake, right? You never know. So she managed to connect with the White House or something and let them know, yeah, I've received your email. I got the intimidation. I got the threat letter. You don't need to send the armed goons to my house to intimidate me. So the armed goons that are destined for the lake head first. They went back to whatever rock they fucking crawled out from under. And she received the letter. And the letter's here. I'm not going to read it all to you. There's no point. It's just another example of someone being honest, doing their job, and not willing to break the law for Donnie, and they get persecuted, utterly threatened, intimidated, and they finally testified in front of Congress, and it was brilliant. I loved what she said. And it's just the truth. SpaceX just landed a $5.92 billion contract with the Pentagon for Space Force rocket launches. Yeah, Space Force my ass. Launching Leon's satellites into orbit. That will help Donnie and Leon and his people. That's all that's going on. There's no fucking Space Force. That's a joke. So another $6 billion to Leon as your 401k, and Mr. Portnoy lost $20 million. How do you guys feel about that? More welfare for Leon? It's the only reason SpaceX is even an open business. The only reason Tesla's an open business. Otherwise, they both would have filed bankruptcy a long fucking time ago, and they wouldn't have been anything. So without welfare, Leon's nothing. Just another pathological liar who thinks he's God. It's the threatening letter here. I'm not going to read that. Liz Oyer is her name, Oyer, who was fired as U.S. pardon attorney, allegedly for rejecting instruction to help restore Mel Gibson's gun rights, received this letter from Justice Department before her appearance at Senate hearing. DOJ tells Oyer she can't disclose agency records on gun right restorations. Well, the reason they kept saying gun right restorations to her in the letter, that's what it had to do with Mel Gibson's gun rights. Again, they let the cat out of the bag and confirmed the rumor that it was about Mel Gibson's gun rights. In other words, don't talk about Mel Gibson trying to get his guns back. That might hurt the Reich. It might hurt Mel's reputation. As if he has any reputation left. And I like a lot of his movies. Don't get me wrong. That's why, it's a dichotomy here. I know he's a horrible human being, but I do like some of his movies. Really powerful acting in some of those movies. It's a shame. They asked Donnie about tariffs on Russia. Hey, why is there tariffs on penguins but no tariffs on Russia? What's up with that, Donnie Krasnov? The reason we're not talking about tariffs with Russia is because we are not doing business essentially with Russia. Oh, Donnie's doing plenty of business with Russia. He's been doing business with Russia since the 80s, son. Trump tariff, plenty of places America doesn't do business with. Exactly, the Penguin Islands. And according to Nutlick today on the press circuit, he said the reason we tariff islands like that is because, someone will move there and do business from that location to avoid tariffs. So we tariff every landmass. Well, what about Russia, cunt? If that's the philosophy, if that's the lie you're running with, Mr. Nutlick. Russia's a landmass, why not tariff them? Oh, that's because you're all working with Vlad, I forgot. Especially Donnie Krasnov. And the fact that there are tariffs on fucking penguins and not Russia proves every damn word I'm saying. Here's Miss Bondi in an interview. Do you believe there's a method by which Trump could seek a third term? I wish we could have him for 20 years as our president, but I think he's going to be finished probably after this term. 20 years, she says. Bream, probably. Bondi, we'd have to look at the Constitution. So there's Miss Bondi admitting she's going to help try and keep Donnie as a dictator and get him a third term. Again, they're telling you everything they're going to do. And Donnie staged a coup last time. So what do you think is going to happen this time? Reporter, many Palestinian Americans voted for you because you promised them to end the war in Gaza. The war is still going on. Trump, the war will stop at some point. That won't be in the too distant future. Yeah, it'll stop when we move American troops in there and we have a freedom zone and we're building Trump Gaza and we're putting up gold statues of Donnie. And we're getting rid of the Gazans. That's when it'll stop. When the American freedom zone opens up with American troops in Gaza. People don't even want Israeli troops in Gaza, and they right over, the border. Now we're going to have American troops. All you lying cunts that said you don't want no more war, if you're cheering on American troops on the Holy Land to remove Gazans, you want to get in that quagmire. You want to get in that fight that never ends. If you're okay with that, then nothing you've said prior, is it's all hypocrisy. Because there's no fight worse to get involved in than that fight over the Holy Land. Because that fight never ends, does it? It just keeps on going and going like the Energizer Bunny. So now the Reich and all the rubes, you're all cool with having American troops in a freedom zone, building a Trump Gaza resort as you lose your 401k and all your rights and your kid's future. You want to go down that road of horror. And World War III, because I guarantee you that's what it's going to start. And that could start before then. It could start when we bomb Iran or, whatever he's about to do. When we try and annex Canada or Greenland. That might start a war. My point is, war's coming, whether you like it or not. But the last war any fighting force should want to get involved in, or you should want to get involved in, is that fight over the Holy Land. Because it's going to go on forever till, the king comes back, till the man comes around. That fight's going to exist. The Supreme Court just vacated Judge James Boasberg's order allowing the Trump admin to deport Venezuelan migrants under the Wartime Alien Enemies Act. Yes, just like Rand Paul said, what I told you in the beginning of the video, living under emergency rule. So the Supreme Court said the emergency rule is cool. The Supreme Court said, we're going to put a stay on you having to bring that person back that you admitted shouldn't be there, that other judge ordered you to do, to bring that person back. And we're going to go even further. We're also going to put the rubber stamp on you can send anyone else you want to send to El Salvador. Immediately, you can go right back to doing what you were doing. No due process, just go ahead and send them. So the Supreme Court's okay with an innocent man being there when he shouldn't be. And they're okay saying to the Reich that, yeah, you don't have to bring him back, who cares? And they're also okay with more people going down there without due process. That's what the Supreme Court just said to you. I believe Miss Coney Barrett dissented and didn't join in. I believe it was all men that made this decision. Men destined for the lake, of course. Again, he who is for captivity, into captivity he goes, Mr. Roberts. You're allegedly a Christian, right? You've read the good book, right, Mr. Roberts? Apparently you didn't take in any of those lessons because you're literally one of the biggest chess pieces for the Antichrist. That's your existence now. You know where that existence gets you? In the lake, son. And that's the lake of fire. You probably forgot about that too because you never cared what was in Scripture. You just cared about getting a judgeship. So one more time. The Supreme Court is flat out saying we are cool with an innocent man rotting in an El Salvadoran death camp and will literally give you an order that says it's okay to leave him there in defiance of another judge's order. And go ahead and start deporting more people without due process. No problem. Go for it. The problem is, again, judges, you might piss off the Fuhrer one day and he might put you on a plane to El Salvador. You didn't think about that, did you? But Miss Barrett thought about it. I can tell. Trump says he may not reduce tariffs on Israel because the U.S. already gives them billions of dollars. Congratulations, by the way. That's a lot. That's what he said to Netanyahu. Congratulations on that billions of dollars we're giving you. But, you know, we're going to keep the tariffs on you. He said that literally while Netanyahu was sitting next to him. Fuck him. Yeah, we're just going to keep the tariffs. Again, I told you he was the beast. I told you he was the Antichrist. He needs Netanyahu more than anyone. More than he needs Vlad, more than he needs Hegseth, more than he needs anybody. He needs this Netanyahu person for his ultimate end goal, which is the resort and the temple and Donnie being God. And even though he needs this person more than anyone, vital, critical to his agenda, he's still so greedy and such a grifter, he's going to leave those tariffs on Israel. While Netanyahu sits right there. Oof, I told you, he's the beast. If you want to bring prayer in school but not free lunch, you got to stop pretending this is about Jesus. He would have fed the kids. Indeed, your efforts to bring the Bible or the Word of God into schools is fucking worthless. The efforts you've stopped or shit talked about giving kids free school lunches, that's going to get you thrown in the lake. Because Jesus Christ doesn't care about your indoctrination of young minds. Jesus Christ cares about you giving a fuck about those children and making sure they eat so they can think and participate and not starve. You reading scripture to them is meaningless to Christ. You forcing scripture down their throat, meaningless. You're worthless. Getting them a free lunch, that's everything. And you fight against that as you dare let the name Jesus come through your lips. No problem funding Donnie's golf outings, though, huh? Cunts. But free school lunch, that's a bridge too. We can't have poor kids eating too. Then my, kid that was born rich, my son, my daughter, they won't have a leg up. I don't like this even playing field stuff. That gives me a bad feeling. It reminds me of the time when I worked for a political organization and I had to go door to door. And the issue that was going to be voted on was minimum wage going up $1 fucking dollar. I would go to elitist cunts' doorways and say to them, hey, we're trying to raise minimum wage $1 to $8.25. $8.25. I remember one elitist cunt in particular who had a Mercedes in the driveway. And she came out and I mentioned that, yeah, we're trying to raise the minimum wage $1 worthless goddamn dollar. She got all indignant. She got all cunty. And she said, well, it's entry-level job and blah, 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 The cunt whose daddy paid for her college. The cunt who's driving a Mercedes. The cunt who needs nothing in life. Wants to help take food out of a minimum wage worker's mouth. Because it offends her that they might make $8.25 an hour. Guess where that lady going? All you people that fell for the college scam. When you hear someone's college debt is going to be erased, you get offended because you paid yours. When you hear minimum wage is going to be raised to $20 an hour because you can't even live on that now, you get all offended because you went to a scam school and got a degree to make $13.50 an hour because you're an idiot. And you're offended that someone might get 20 to work at McDonald's. That's sad. Again, son, it's not the rest of our faults, and it's not that minimum wage worker's fault that you fell for a scam and put yourself, I don't know, 100 G's in debt for a worthless degree that got you $15 an hour. That's not our fault. That's the scam road you decided to go down. The McDonald's worker did not decide to do that. So you have no right to be mad about them getting an almost livable wage just because you wasted your time and you got played. And I think that's what offends a lot of you. That your daddy sent you to college, you didn't pay a dime of it. You got your shitty little degree, you're still an idiot, and you're making $17 an hour. And the McDonald's worker's about to pass you. It's almost as if the McDonald's worker's smarter than you, huh? And so you got offended by that. Well, I did this and I did that. Well, that's because you're a fool. And you fell for a scam. The American scam called college, where, to go to a decent school over 4 years, what's this going to cost you? At least $500,000 for your kid? Easy? Forget about if they want to be a doctor. Oh, God, now you're talking a few million. It's a scam, son. And it's one of the reasons we have so few doctors and they're so in such high demand. Because what you got to put out is ridiculous. We've been played. You used to be able to have a summer job and pay for your college at your local community school back in the 70s, early 80s. That's been long dead. Now it's turned into a straight up scam, just like rent, just like buying a car, just like getting your car fixed. Everybody trying to scam you. Everybody, whether you realize it or not. That's the American way, right? Long as you and your kids have enough. Doesn't matter what you got to do for 8 hours, right, guys? Anyway, I digress. This is what I wanted to really get into. Because it's what's happening to our country and it's what's going to happen. I've been saying all these things for 2 months and years. Once I realized who Donnie was, once it was really confirmed for me. So this is Seth Abramson again, and we're going to go into Venezuela and what their country's like and how it became that way as fast as I can do it. Some thought I had a data error in my proof report on the new international slave trade Trump and Nayib Bukele have agreed upon. I did not. Both the Conversation and FT report that U.S. inmates, a majority with no criminal record, have less than 2 feet of living space. Evil. And your name is on it. I suggest you take your name off it. Again, this phrase right in the middle of the story called Revelation, right at this point we're at now. It goes like this again. He who is for captivity, into captivity he goes. So clap like a seal for this if you will. It might have you landing in captivity yourself. Be careful, son. So I'm going to read you a couple excerpts from the Financial Times. Inside El Salvador's mega prison, the jail giving inmates less space than livestock. Bukele, the self-styled chief executive of El Salvador, known for symbolic gambit to make Bitcoin legal tender. They made Bitcoin legal tender, I believe, 2021, 2020. Did you hear me? Bitcoin legal tender. That's where Donnie and Leon want to take us. That's where they're gonna take us. I've been saying it every day, haven't I? El Salvador's already there. The El Salvadoran model is the model of what they're doing here, including the Bitcoin part. Already done in El Salvador. So it can't ever happen here, right? It's impossible. No, it's gonna happen. I promise. Has made a show of appearing tough on crime. The 41-year-old who shot to prominence as mayor of the capital of San Salvador is an avid social media user and once changed his Twitter bio to the coolest dictator in the world. So we have a Donnie Shitbags type person who loves social media, who loves worship, who loves attention, who gained a cult of personality as mayor of San Salvador, or the capital, San Salvador. He also loves social media, just like Donnie. No one's on social media more than Donnie. The coolest dictator in the world, destined for the lake. He wrote that. The coolest dictator in the world. He thinks that's funny. I wonder if when we're on the banks, he'll think it's so funny. In April 2020, his security forces lined up hundreds of gang members, stripped to their underwear, and forced them to sit on the floor in long lines as a punishment for a jump in violence. Yeah, they'll take about a few hundred men, put them balls to butt, literally touching each other in a formation with their legs open. Real cruel, unusual, disgusting treatment of human beings. Bukele's hardline approach to gangs has proved popular. Really? Because I thought he was a dictator. He already has one of the highest approval ratings of any world leader. Yeah, that's what dictators always have. They always have the highest approval. A challenge to advocates for democracy who fear that success will only embolden Bukele's authoritarian instincts. Bukele has already centralized power since taking office 4 years ago. Upending a two-party system. Does this sound fucking familiar? That had dominated since the end of its civil war in 1992. He controls a rubber stamp legislature. Does that sound familiar? Has replaced the entire Supreme Court with favorable justices. Does that sound familiar? And has vowed to run for re-election despite it being banned under the El Salvadoran Constitution. Does that sound familiar, son? One more time. Has vowed to run for re-election despite it being banned under the Constitution. Well, we just heard Miss Bondi talk about a third term for Donnie. We'll have to look at the Constitution, see how we can illegally, get a loophole and install him as a dictator. That's what Miss Bondi was saying. We'll see what we can do. Well, Bukele's doing the same thing. He wants to be dictator for life, just like Donnie. All of this sounds very familiar. This is where your country's going. It's already partially there, son. He's already replaced almost everyone with sycophants. Just like Bukele. Same exact formula, same game plan. This is an autocracy in its truest sense. Is one guy able to do whatever he wants in this country? Yeah, he is. He's a dictator. He added, it's going to reinforce his basic message to the Salvadoran people that El Salvador's democratic parties were part of the problem and that his authoritarian style is a solution. Well, any dissent will get squashed. So no one's going to critique the dictator. And only propaganda will be put out. So I'm not buying the popularity shit at all. Donnie and JD lie, and Leon lie, and his mother lies about how popular they all are. Wait till you see what percentage Mr. Bukele won his election by. It'll sound a lot like Vlad Putin. Now, this is a little info on El Salvador, because I didn't know all this about El Salvador before the death camp came into existence. El Salvador became the first country in the world to use Bitcoin as legal tender. First country in the world. Donnie has his coin too. I've been saying every day for 2 months that they have to crash it and get you on Donnie coin. After having been adopted as such by the Legislative Assembly of El Salvador in 2021, it has been promoted by Nayib Bukele, the president, who claimed that it would improve the economy by making banking easier for Salvadorans. I guess we'll hear that same thing. It'll make your banking easier. We'll hear that same thing, watch. And that it would encourage foreign investment. Oh, well, we hear that every day. Well, Donnie just sells gold cards for $5 million. Well, I mean, didn't Bukele think of that? Oh, that's right. No one wants to open a business in that fucking shithole. I forgot. Never mind. In 2022, more Salvadorians had Bitcoin Lightning wallets than bank accounts, or joined the Beast system. You could look at it that way. The adoption has been criticized both internationally and within El Salvador, due to the volatility of Bitcoin, its environmental impact, and lack of transparency regarding the government's fiscal policy. In 2024, El Salvador agreed to partially limit its involvement with Bitcoin as part of the deal made with the International Monetary Fund. They still own Bitcoin though, and it's probably the same that more people have Bitcoin digital wallets than bank accounts. More people have joined Bukele's Beast system than not. They're going to ask you to do this here too. Are you going to do it? This is the vice president of El Salvador. To these people who say democracy is being dismantled, my answer is yes, we are not dismantling it. We are eliminating it. We are replacing it with something new. Felix Ulloa, the vice president of El Salvador, told the New York Times earlier this month, days before El Salvador's presidential election, this was in the past. Dismantling, not dismantling, eliminating, you say. I said they're dismantling and looting you. I also said everyone's being replaced by sycophants, and we're moving into dictatorship. Well, El Salvador is now a dictatorship. And they just admitted that the goal was to eliminate democracy. They ain't hiding it. Now you know what's happening here, right? You're seeing the whole game plan. It already happened in El Salvador. And they're following that game plan to a T, including one of the first things Donnie did was opening up a death camp in Gitmo. And put 40,000. Remember that was the number? You know why the number was 40,000? Because that's how much Bukele's death camp holds. Exactly 40,000 at maximum capacity, where you get less than 2 foot of living space once it's full. And I'm sure he'll get it full. So again, Donnie opened Gitmo, and the number 40,000 inmates was the first number, the exact number of the Bukele death camp at maximum capacity. Gee, I wonder where Donnie got all these ideas from. You are seeing what I'm reading to you. You are literally seeing what's about to happen to you and your nation. What is happening, what's already begun. We knee deep in it right now. We're going to get way deeper. You're seeing the whole game plan here. 2 days after Aloa's blunt declaration regarding the direction of President Nayib Bukele's administration, the candidate amended his running mate's statement, insisting he was constructing El Salvador's first true democracy. In other words, the elimination of democracy was letting too much of the cat out of the bag. We need to change the wording because we let too much of the cat out of the bag. Just like Donnie today when he said open borders. He fucked up. Deflected right to China. Same thing. The vice president got a little too uppity, thinking he was the one in charge. Like Donnie's son, when Donnie's son Eric made all those threats that we're willing and we're going to do so much worse to anyone that stands in our way. Got too uppity, let his daddy's authority go to his head. Well, this vice president, Mr. Aloa, he let Bukele's authority go to his head, and he ran his mouth a little bit, and he had to rein it back in. So he gave the game away. These are the last two excerpts. In May 2021, Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele used his legislative supermajority to fire the country's highest court and top prosecutor. Do you hear me? Does that sound familiar? They want to impeach judges. They're replacing any lawyer that dares do a good job and tell the truth and not just do the business of the Reich. Firing anyone, replacing them only with sycophants, to the point they're asking the sycophants, are you sycophant enough? When did you have your MAGA revelation? Well, we're all living our MAGA revelations right now. So he fired the highest court and the top prosecutor. That's not a dictatorial dystopian move at all, right, guys? And again, the Supreme Court, you better watch your step. Because if you guys try and stand in Donnie's way, maybe he does the same thing that Bukele does. He's firing any prosecutor that he feels like. The power grab deepened El Salvador's democratic crisis by dealing a major blow to horizontal accountability. Well, it's just a move towards dictatorship, sycophancy. Get rid of anyone who's not a straight-up sycophant loyalist. What explains Bukele's rise and the concomitant decline of democratic institutions in El Salvador? Bukele's success relies on millennial authoritarianism. An innovative political strategy. No, it's just dictatorship. I'm not reading the rest of this. There's no political strategy. He's firing anyone that stands in his way or throwing them in a death camp and hiring only sycophants that will happily boast of eliminating your rights in favor of straight dictatorship. What do they call it? Millennial authoritarianism. No, it's just authoritarianism. Isn't millennial anything? It's dictatorship. It's Vlad Putin. It's Xi. It's Hitler. That's all it is. All these words aren't even necessary. There's no political ideology. There's no political system. There's nothing. There's just one man who decides if you have rights or not. That's it. That's where we're going. Everything I just read you here, we're going to all those places. Bukele did not wait to take advantage of his legislative supermajority. On the evening of May 1st, just hours after the new legislators had been sworn in, he and his legislative allies fired the independent attorney general and the judges of the constitutional chamber, El Salvador's highest court. Again, does this sound familiar? By the following morning, the legislature had packed both institutions with loyalists. Does that sound familiar? Only loyalists, no one else. Bukele had used his legislative majority to defang the judicial branch in only a day. On Twitter, he framed these events as a victory for democracy. The Salvadoran people, he tweeted May 1st, said through their representatives, "You're fired." Earlier that day, Bukele claimed that this is called democracy. No, it's not. It's called dictatorship. And again, his vice president was boasting before the election about we're eliminating democracy. He didn't just pull that out of his ass. That's what him and Bukele talk about. That's the plan. But he ran his mouth too much. He wasn't supposed to say that. In 200 years, our country had not savored it, but now we do. No, that's a flat out lie. They don't savor democracy at all. It's a dictatorship now. And that's it. And I saw he won the election by like 85%. No one wins an election, 85% of the vote. That's dictatorship. Those numbers aren't real. Everything I just read to you that has already happened in El Salvador. Some of it's already happening here, and the rest of it's going to happen here. And I don't think it's going to be stopped. So again, you have a society that moves to Bitcoin. You have a society where a guy that develops a cult of personality because of his cruelty, and so many humans can identify with success and cruelty. What they see as success, like being president, having a cult of personality, being famous, having a lot of money. Whatever they see as success. And they also enjoy cruelty, as long as that cruelty does not come to their doorstep. All the people that voted for Donnie enjoy cruelty. All the people that voted for Bukele enjoy cruelty. His vice president enjoys cruelty. That's why you gravitate to these types of people. Because you are them. So we have a man in Trumpian fashion who probably witnessed the whole Trump Antichrist thing happen back in 2015. Who took the formula and applied it to himself, the grift, the con, the road to dictatorship. So he became famous by being cruel and outspoken and being on social media a lot. The country moves to cashless Bitcoin because that's what Satan wants the whole world on. And Donnie needs us all on Donnie Coin. So that's already happened there, and it's going to happen here. So you know that part of the plan. It's already been done. Donnie's following the exact playbook. How do I know Donnie's following the exact playbook? He's doing all the things Bukele did. And he even opened a death camp in Gitmo again and quoted the number 40,000 will be sent there. More. I remember reading the articles to you guys. And that number. And I just found out today that the death camp in El Salvador, max capacity is 40,000. That's what Bukele wants to do. And he wants it overcrowded on purpose. The cruelty is the point. So you're seeing a small version of what America is going to turn into and is turning into down in El Salvador. One more time, Donnie and his people quoted the exact same number that Bukele's death camp holds, 40,000 in Gitmo. Now, they scaled Gitmo back because they realize now, we'll just send them down to demon country in El Salvador. We don't need Gitmo. We'll just pay that demon down there, Bukele, to keep people forever. He could use them as slaves, whatever he wants to do. And we'll give American taxpayer money for that. And the Supreme Court will co-sign it. And even if you're innocent and we fuck up and send you down there, well, we're gonna take it to the Supreme Court and make sure you stay. Because the deal with Bukele is for life. You'd be a slave for life in horrid, miserable conditions in a death camp. Do you think you could survive in a cell with 70 people, having 2 feet of living space? Do you think you would live through that? The goons in there, the thugs in there, do you think you would live through it? No, you would die. It's a death sentence to go there. It is a death sentence. Donnie, one of his first actions was to open a camp up in Gitmo, send 110 troops down there, and he quoted the number 40,000, just like Bukele's prison camp. That's how I know that's the experiment ground for what's coming to America. Every single thing I read to you. based literally down to the same number of overcrowded inmates being tortured. So the country switched to Bitcoin. That's going to happen here as well. They switched from democracy to dictatorship. That's already happened here as well, and it's going to get a lot worse. Everyone in government was replaced or fired. Entire panels of judges, highest court in the land, highest prosecutors, all replaced by abject sycophants. That's already happened here for the most part. Death camps and for-profit prison labor has become big business over there, to where they offer out their services to other dictatorships like America and say, we'll even take your American prison. We don't care what slaves you send us. We already had our death camp opened in Gitmo. Now they've scaled it back, though, because they're just going to use Bukele. Because none of them want to go to prison, so all the death camps got to be offshore. So what do Leon and Donnie want to do? What does Pete Thale and others want to do? What did George Bush Sr. want to do? Eliminate democracy, just like the vice president of El Salvador said. Where do you think they all got these similar ideas from? This shit's been floating around for hundreds of years, son. This idea of no borders, having third world workers come and man the factories, Chinese style, Vietnamese style. Satan, golden ages, light. Goats with $100 bills where Donnie's name replaces the name of God. Blasphemy of a real fallen Christian called Jimmy Carter by not flying the flag at half-staff during Donnie's shitty coronation. What El Salvador is now is what America will be, and we're almost there. So again, you've got all the competent people replaced with sycophants, just like in El Salvador. They want to move us to the crypto. Thales talked about it. Leon's talked about it. Donnie's talked about it. Open borders. They didn't talk about that in El Salvador, but they're just going to use the slave labor that other countries send them, like this dictatorship here in America. Almost worship of the dictator. Elimination of democracy. Elimination of checks and balances and guardrails. Death camps. All of your rights taken. You bankrupted. So they can do what they did in El Salvador. Move you to Donnie Coin. Every single thing I read you. That's what's happening to your country. And that's what's going to happen to your country. And you ushered it in. You have your name on it, and you know who I'm talking to. Not everybody. I suggest you take your name off it as soon as possible. Now you know what's going to happen to your once great nation. The El Salvadoran following it to a T. I guess we had a good run, right? But the rubes and the rich, they weren't satisfied. They wanted to see it all burned down. Because what they all have inside them is what Donnie has inside them. Chaos, division, war, hatred. And they sacrifice their country, their future, their children's future for that. And now they have a dictatorship. A guy that's talking about third terms, just like Bukele. It's funny how they're just so similar, isn't it? Funny how the whole plan's so similar as well. Anyway, so now you know what's going to happen to your country. Guaranteed. Mark it. Put it on the calendar. Definitely going to happen. All proven. Everything I've said so far. Out of the, out of their own mouths. Until the next episode, have a good day.